Welcome back. We are going into another Mega Man game as part of this fantastic Mega Man block. We have got Mega Man X3. We have got Geo running this game at 100% completion today. You don't see that very often, especially with Mega Man X3. And we've got O-Trials and Satchmo on commentary here today. Why don't you folks tell us a bit about what we're about to see?
Yeah, so Mega Man X3, as said, not often it's run 100% completion at Marathon. It's been quite a while, so this should be interesting. Geo here is currently the third place time on the board, so pretty high level gameplay we're about to see here. And yeah, I'm excited for it. Satch?
Same, I'm excited too. It's been quite a while since I've seen this actually ran on any sort of stream other than just like Geo running it and stuff. So look forward to seeing what we can show off and kind of. I think there's some new stuff too that's happened that hasn't really been seen before too. So
yeah, and a lot of movement at the top of the boards as well. Just yesterday, EAB set a new world record for the category with a 44-16. So certainly a revival year, 2023 for X3. But yeah, beyond that, I think we're all set here, Geo, so whenever you want to hit play.
Alrighty, so does anybody want to do a countdown?
Sure, I'll give you a countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so X3, for anybody that's played this in their earlier years, you'll remember this was the first game of the series where Zero was a playable character. Probably blew all of our minds back then. Unfortunately, not much use through the speedrun, but we will see a couple appearances from him. And just a few things to go over here. Well, we got a little bit of downtime from the intro. We have two main mechanics here that are worth explaining. Number one being dash lemons. So the non-charged shots that you'll see from the Buster, we lovingly call lemons. Those lemons, when fired during a dash, the first one out will do double damage to a target. That will work on every enemy in the game except for bosses and mini-bosses in Mega Man X3. So a bit of a departure from X1 and X2 that way. And the second main mechanic here that we're going to see, the one exception to the Dash Lemon rule as a boss is Mao, the intro boss. We will hopefully be seeing here what's called a CFO fight, something named after the intro boss of Mega Man X2. And the idea here is that because only one charge shot can be on screen at a time, we can increase our damage output by firing a lemon from distance before the boss's iframes expire. Charging up to a level 2 shot during the travel time of that lemon, and the damage output is increased. We're going to see this mechanic used a ton throughout the run, so keep an eye out for that here against the intro boss.
I think you pretty much just covered everything for the level. A lot.
Looks like a pretty good intro so far here.
Did you explain how the CFO actually works?
Yeah.
With the dash lemon time?
Yeah.
I missed that apparently.
2 strengths by the run. Yeah, so Geo here actually has one of the fastest intro times on record as well. Looks like pretty well perfectly executed the fight. Now, 100%, the early game for this category is rather punishing because the first Maverick that we have to go to is Tunnel Rhino. And with X3, there's a bit of a different difficulty here than there was with X1 or X2. Just a different philosophy in that everything hits like a truck. So
it's very
Geo's going to do his absolute best to avoid contact damage from the enemies in this stage. And just a note here, these first two enemies called Ganseki carriers, they, because of bad programming, leave some leftover data in the game's static RAM. And because of that, if we don't die through the remainder of the stage, that piece of data left over by them is held all the way up until Tunnel Rhino, and it stops him from using any of his drill attacks during the boss fight. If you do die after the Hell Crusher mini-boss, then that data is wiped, and you'll see a completely different moveset from Tunnel Rhino during the run.
It also won't be the last time that leftover data will affect the run going forward.
Yeah, very true.
Also, we're getting ready to come up on Hell Crusher here, and this is just a huge mash fest, really, is all it is. He's not a really difficult boss. We, however, will not be picking up any of the items from this stage. It is going to be returned to. It's one of the revisits. There's 2 revisits for the Hundo run in X3. This being one of them, and it's actually the last revisit. We pick up the headpiece, a heart tank, and a sub-tank here, so...
Yeah, so we'll see Geo flying by all those items the first time, 2 of them inaccessible at this point, and then ignoring the sub-tank as well. Really, the only reason why is because it saves a wall kick if you come back and get it with the air dash.
Every little bit counts, though, so...
Absolutely. So coming up on the Rhino fight here, hopefully we're going to see... Geo's got quite a bit of health. We're going to see a CFO technique here where you're seeing him shoot the lemons during the iframe sequence, and they should be hitting just as the iframes end. That's allowing him to charge up his attacks earlier. And we might see a bait here. We do on the Rhino boss just to end his animation for his desperation attack a little bit earlier. Saves about 40 frames.
Iframes for X3 bosses were tampered with a lot. A lot of times when you use the weaknesses for most of the bosses, the iframes are elongated. And because of the, again, kind of bad programming, there's going to be some exploits used against those iframes because of it. So.
But excellent stage so far. Going into Buffalo here, our second Maverick. The main mechanic through this stage that we're going to take note of is massively increased movement speed thanks to slope mechanics, which we did see a little bit of in Mega Man X1 in Penguin stage, but they return in force here in Buffalo. Walking and jumping on these slopes, you travel a far greater distance. And we also see an appearance here of a drill despawn mechanic, just to break through these ice chunks much faster than the drill would normally allow us.
Something else to note about this stage too is, for some reason, again, odd programming, when you are walking going left in this stage, you also get slope walking jumps. So if you ever played X1, you'll know you get increased jump height from turning left and jumping in this stage. Turning right or walking right doesn't do it, only left. Very interesting.
Coming up on Bootless here, and this jump here, very, very deceivingly difficult. It's comparable to the Iceless jump in X1, probably one of the most famous singular jumps in the entire series. Bootless, equally as difficult, Geo executing it flawlessly.
Yeah, that was magnificent. I actually think personally it's harder. I struggle with it more than I do Iceless.
You know, I think I do as well. The big thing with Bootless is just there's not a great visual cue, so a lot of it comes down to just the runner's timing and feel for the jump. But moving on here to Buffalo. Sorry, go ahead, Satch.
Oh, I was just going to do the same thing you're doing.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, with Buffalo, there's a couple of unique things. He has kind of a, I guess we can call it a potato mechanic. As long as you jump at a certain point, when he turns around, it will register in his programming that you're at a certain position, and he will just turn around and continue to dash into the wall. And speedrunners then will abuse this so that they can maintain a CFO like you're seeing right now. Geo doing an excellent job at it.
Yeah, pretty well perfect fight there, too. One thing that you may have noticed him doing during that fight as well is that he was dashing while releasing the charge shots. And the idea there is that the charge shots will actually come out much closer to Buffalo and make instantaneous contact if you're in a dash animation. So you can extend the length of the entire CFO process just by throwing in a dash frame on release. It's a very difficult timing-based fight, but Geo is one of the best at that.
Yeah, he is amazing at that fight, honestly. I can't beat his fight. I've tried.
Yeah, Geo definitely an absolute god tier runner at these Super Nintendo X games for sure. Excellent times in all the games and categories that he tackles. So now we're moving on to the bit split, and this is going to encompass 3 different Mavericks: Tiger, Beetle, and Seahorse. And the reason why we split all of these as a single split rather than individual Mavericks is because there is an RNG element involved in the last 6 Maverick stages, where the first 2 stages you do in the game, you will not experience a fight with Bit or Bite. During the 3rd to 5th Mavericks, we can have Bit show up in any one of those 3 stages. And
You're gonna see another drill despawn really quick, too.
Yeah, drill despawn there as well.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. And 6th to 8th Mavericks, we'll see a random encounter with Bite. So because of those RNG elements, we can't guarantee where he'll show up. We split those stages all in one go. Now that we've acquired the Buster upgrade, we're going to see hopefully a lot of use here from what we call Neon mechanics. First one being on the worm kill here. And let's see. So he gets the Neon, doesn't get the swap over, unfortunately, to Ice on the worm kill. But the Neons that you're going to see throughout this run, very difficult mechanic. At the end of an air dash, specifically has to be an air dash, releasing a charged shot beyond just the level 2 Buster, and jumping on the same frame will reset X's ability to jump and also air dash again. So we can gain incredible height using those mechanics.
When you have the Buster upgrade specifically, when you shoot, there is a singular frame in which you get ground. Like, it registers that you're on the ground even though you're in the air, which is what allows the Neon to actually happen. So.
Mm-hmm. And you will see a lot of abuse as well through not just this stage, but many others in the run of the drill. Not just in its ability to break through walls, but also in its ability to temporarily disable collision with a lot of the enemies in the game. Releasing a drill into an enemy as you're jumping through them, you temporarily disable that collision for 17 frames, allowing for a lot more varied movement.
Now we're starting in the Tiger fight. This one's fairly basic. It's the first boss that we encounter that has RNG in this. There's actually not much RNG period in the X3 run as far as like bosses and stuff goes, but this boss can definitely filter a lot of people early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very deceivingly difficult fight. Looks like just a back and forth and a mash with Buster, but there is a lot more going on than meets the eye. His soft weakness here being ice as well, so used where possible to deal 2 damage instead of 1. But overall, a good fight. 2 charge, I think I saw there.
Yeah.
Actual weakness is Spin Blade. I'm just unfortunate that we don't have it at this point in the run here, but
there's not
so
really
far
an optimal way to grab it otherwise, which
Correct,
is why
yeah.
it's being done like that.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're heading into Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
This is the other stage that will have a revisit coming in. The Heart Tank we cannot get to until we defeat Hornet. There is a way to do it, but it is not really optimal RTA, so we just opt for a revisit because it's a pretty quick revisit.
Yeah, it doesn't save much time, but we could theoretically abuse a clipping mechanic by switching to 0 mid-stage. Really not worth the effort, though, because it's a potential run ender of a glitch.
It takes basically like multiple frame perfect inputs, and the only way that it's been done right now is via pause buffering, and jumping in and out of the pause screen just right now it's not a time save. So
but yeah, Geo obviously picking his way through these Maverick stages, and one thing that that you may note if you're just a casual fan of X3 here is we are picking up all of the items here. So the ride armor chips, the sub tanks, the hearts, and we are ignoring the pink enhancement chip capsules. And the very good reason for that is, as a requirement of the 100% category, you need to achieve the golden armor in Doppler 1, which we can only do if we have passed by all of the enhancement chip capsules through the remainder, or through the prior bits of the run, and then the golden armor will grant all of the enhancement chips at the end.
So basically, it's just animation timing. You know, instead of going into 4 capsules, you only go into 1 to get the same thing, and you can't save enough getting it early on to really justify it.
Nice Beetle CFO there as well. You'll see Geo, again, just using that CFO mechanic in a slightly different way. Ray Splasher and then swapping to a level 2 charge buster to just deal as much damage as quickly as possible to Beetle. Generally a very easy fight casually when you have his weakness, Ray Splasher, but the CFO fight adds an entire new difficulty element to it, and Geo just executing that perfectly.
Again, just because of the whole like weakness having longer iframes bit. If the iframes were normal for everything, you would just want to use the weakness. But now we're entering into Seahorse. This stage is, in my opinion, one of the more difficult ones to execute well. It's not the hardest, but it's definitely up there. The waterfalls here actually slow your movement and can mess up your normal timings, so it takes a lot of practice to really get this going.
Another just very challenging stage. You'll see a lot more verticality in X3 than the previous games here, but a lot more movement options, vertical movement options open up as well with the up dash. And really unfortunate here, we're gonna see Bit in the Seahorse stage. This is the last place that he could possibly spawn. You really don't want to see him here. Geo is going to make use of another CFO mechanic here between charged ice and regular ice. The fight must be finished with Buster to save the explosion sequence, about 10 seconds worth of explosions at the end of the fight. But because he's shown up in Bit stage, that means we are low on ice, which we need through the remainder of the stage. So Geo is going to go for, oh wow, fantastic double neon strat there. So a release and a press neon, incredible backup. Normally we use charged ice there to get up to that enhancement chip.
He'll probably also be killing this mini boss. Usually you do it with ice, but because of Bit spawning here, he's going to be doing it with Buster dragging on the wall.
Yeah, so we see the Buster kill there as well, just conserving our ice because Toxic Seahorse's weakness is ice, and we need it for the quick kill.
Something else to note too that happened earlier in the stage, I didn't get a chance to say because we were talking about something else, but there's another really, it's kind of a swaggy mechanic really, but when you're climbing, if you have your neon shot ready, while you're climbing, if you release the shot and jump the frame after, you will actually do a turn jump. And it is a little faster, not much, it's only minor frames, but Geo is nice enough to grace us with doing it, so be on the lookout for when he's climbing, when he turns, looks like he's turning around and jumping up. That's what's actually going on.
Yeah, it'll look like a kick off of nothing essentially, but it does only work on left side walls, not right side walls. We will see that hopefully more in Catfish stage as well. But here comes the Toxic Seahorse iframe abuse.
And he gets the 2 cycle.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
don't blink
sir.
and you'll miss it. That is an extremely quick kill there. enabled by the fact that Seahorse's iframes are not technically the end of his invincibility. There's a period toward the end of the iframes where he becomes vulnerable again, but because the iframes are still active, they don't trigger, meaning he's vulnerable on every single frame for a very small window at the end of his iframes there, and we just take advantage of that to mash him down rather than having to wait for the iframes to end visually.
And now we're on the joy of Hornet stage here.
Mm-hmm.
This climb is deceptively difficult, and he actually does a really good job at nailing it. There's also a lot of conveyor belts in this level, and basically, if the conveyor belts go in the same direction, you want to try and be on the conveyor belt as long as you're going forward to increase your movement speed just a little bit extra there.
Yeah, any MM2 runners out there, I'm sure, will be very familiar. So now we're onto the mini-boss here. Weak to the acid that we just acquired from Toxic Seahorse. 2 hits from the initial charge, 1 regular shot, and then 1 more hit from a charge shot. And we make quick work with that. We're going to see another instance here coming up as well of the drill being used to break a wall. This time we're moving off screen not for a quick break, but rather so we can switch to Buster earlier. And a nice turnaround kick on the way back up there. Geo just showing off for us.
And that is specifically right there is where you get access to right armors. You unlock that, and that actually gives you full access to all right armors. Well, not all of them. You have to get the actual tanks, but you cannot use right armors until you get that. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, another reason here, just for boss order, Hornet is done after Beetle, and the big reason there is because if you do Hornet before Beetle, there is roughly a 1-minute time loss from an encounter that plays out in Hornet stage. So just a small instance of variability in the Maverick stages depending on the order you tackle them in. But coming up on the Hornet fight, very deceivingly difficult, again, fight to execute on. We're going to see him swapping back between the charged Gravity Well attack here and Ice, and using the menu to essentially end the Gravity Well animation early, just to keep the damage output up.
And you feed in ice shots just to kind of buffer a little bit extra damage, because you're left with a little bit extra. It takes longer otherwise, and you can kind of squeeze in an extra damage while you're charging up for your Gravity Wells. So that's why you see him swap into ice to do that.
Perfectly executed there as well.
Yes, that was a great fight.
Okay. Next on the run here, Catfish. And this is definitely one of the more movement-heavy stages in the game. Verticality and horizontal movement combined here. This is also one of the stages that most prominently saves time from neons, both release and press neons, just to avoid riding some of these elevators as much as possible throughout the stage.
This is also the only stage that those little walkers appear in, which are notoriously toxic as far as most enemies go. If they take a little bit of damage but don't die, they will actually start sparking and can really just slow down a run if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic release and press neons here, and hopefully, yeah, we got the turnaround kick as well on the way out. So just, again, incredibly high-level movement here. This is, as far as marathon runs are concerned, this is definitely a top-tier run. Right now, I know that the splits are probably not up on stream, but Geo is about 10 seconds behind his current PB, but still well on 44 pace, and a 44 marathon would just be an absolutely incredible run.
That is flat moving for this game. If you ever played trying to do a hundo run, that is really going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to put that in perspective, top 10 in this category is 45-25.
Getting the bite fight here. You're going to see him use charged drill for this one. Normally in any percent you wouldn't do that, but with hundo it does way more damage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he got it.
getting sent a little bit by the punches there at the end, but that's okay. It doesn't really lose a ton of time. Again, you'll notice that we did switch to Buster to end that fight. Saves the explosion sequence, and we need at least one of Bit or Bite alive to go into Doppler 1, where they will combine into a singular boss. If both have been defeated, it does change how those stages play out.
Yeah, you fight a boss called Press Disposer, and he is not as fun to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Also takes longer, so that's the big thing here.
Yeah.
Something to note going forward, you're going to see him go through here, but on the catfish fight, there's a little bit to explain. This fight is deceptively difficult. You are trying to bait him to not go into his desperation mode. It can vary anywhere between... We refer to it as drills, how many drills it takes to kill it. But you're trying to basically get him as low a health as possible, baiting his movement in order to get him as low as possible before he goes into desperation.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see Geo as well interspersing acid throughout this as a way to engage a CFO-style fight. Not as much RNG in the 100% fight as there is in the any percent fight, thanks to the charge drills as well, but still want to reduce the use of them as much as possible because of how long the fight will last with the weakness.
Good fight by Geo on that one too. It was a nice recovery at the end there with the way it played out on the health.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're going to be heading into Crawfish. This is the stage where we're going to be encountering Vile, which is a way to basically prevent us from having to fight him later on. I know the stage itself isn't too bad to go through. It's pretty quick and easy. The Vile section is where everything gets kind of tricky, though. There is... actually, sorry. Lost my train of thought there for a second. What you're going to see early on here is the use of one of the ride armors, finally. Actually, we used it in the last one, I forgot, but this is the fastest one that we have. We have the Hawk armor. It's a little bit longer on the menuing, but this is by far the fastest armor to get through the stage with. I mean,
yeah, and having that flight ability as well. Yeah, the frog armor. The frog armor, probably the slowest movement option introduced in any Mega Man X game of all time.
There is no fast way to use the frog armor.
The Hawk armor, though, allowing us to fly our way back out of the heart room there, just to elongate the amount of time that we're in the ride armor. But yeah, moving through the stage pretty quickly here, we're going to be entering into Vile's factory. And this stage, as Saj said, has its own sets of difficulties. We have some RNG elements, such as the falling rocks during the climb. Not really a good way to mitigate it beyond just using Triad Thunder during the climb to break the rocks before they contact. One thing that you will notice as well, back after getting the boots and the Buster upgrade, the combination of those two speeds up the ladder climb significantly. So instead of going for gap jumps in the Hundo run, we see just a lot of ladder climbing after Tiger. The Vile fight itself, again, incredibly difficult to execute on. We're going to be swapping back here, and again, another CFO-style fight. Charged Ray Splasher versus uncharged shots. This is Vile's weakness in both phases of the fight, and we have to finish this fight using Ray Splasher. If you do not, you will not be able to get the saber later on in the game, and that would essentially negate the 100% category. So very important, excellent fight executed, and you'll notice as well, just at the end, Geo was able to use Charged Ray Splasher where it looked like he had nothing left in his energy, and it's just a way that X3 displays half energies. You can still use them in this game, even though the tank looks like it is empty. That half weapon energy is enough to get that final charge shot off.
I'm glad you explained that. That is one of my favorite things. This is actually a notoriously difficult section as well. Everybody kind of gauges it if you look at the little timer up top, the Vile stage is exploding essentially. and there's a timer up top as to when it's going to explode and you're trying to escape. The goal that you shoot for as a runner is to try and hit 29. And is he going to get it? No, I think he's going to get 28, yeah.
28 on the exit there. That's all right. But, 29 is definitely, I think, the tightest you can possibly escape there. Made all the more difficult by the fact that in 100%, you are down HP, so we're even trying to dodge the health pickups as well during that.
It's also a notoriously laggy section as well, too, so there's just a ton of lag going through that whole
a lot of
stage.
dash jumps to try and avoid the generation of those dust sprites.
This climb here, by the way, is also deceptively difficult to do. It looks easy and straightforward, but it is hard to do optimally.
And now as we get on to the final Maverick fight here, don't blink or you will miss it. The crawfish fight ends very quickly due to a similar exploit to Seahorse, where he is vulnerable for a very small window of time at the end of his iframes, and we can deal damage to him on every single frame. And just like that, crawfish is down.
Wow, that was a fast takedown. Now, we have had a donation come in from Tozzle. A very specific amount of $24.34 has come in. Says, thank you all for coming together to raise money for an incredible cause. Put this donation towards that last bid war incentive. Ghouls and Ghosts, please. Thank you very much for that donation. And yeah, that looks like a 2,500 goal achieved.
Awesome. Wow, that's fantastic, guys. Well done. Keep the support going, guys. Last day of the marathon, so make it count. Moving on to the revisits here. We're going to be seeing a little bit more animation canceling once we get to Tunnel Rhino's revisit. But first, Beetle, we just need the heart. Very quick revisit. Once we get to Rhino, again, we have 3 items to collect there. The heart, the sub-tank, and the helmet upgrade. And it's incredibly important that we get the helmet upgrade last out of all of the upgrades, because in the Maverick stages, when you enter one with the helmet upgrade, it will cause an animation to play out where a map is displayed showing you the location of all secrets and all the items that are left to pick up. And it's a very long animation that plays. If you just allow that to happen throughout the run, you could lose, minutes off of your
Literally.
speed run due to it.
You get to see how long it is when you get the headgear. It is ridiculous.
But Charged Triad Thunder being used here to access the heart. We're going to see it one more time to access that helmet upgrade. And that is the reason why we couldn't grab those items on the first go around. Not that we wanted to. And the air dash there being used to save a wall kick to grab the sub-tank.
So nicely done on the gold, by the way, Geo.
Oh yeah, I just I noticed that myself, gold bite split. So that's brought him down to a 43-minute sum of best, the final frontier of X3 Hundo.
Again, most of this, you've seen most of the movement here, so it's not really anything new or surprising. But you're about to see the intensely long animation for the helmet.
Yeah, there is a reason this one comes last.
I'm just going to let this play out for dramatic effect.
And thank goodness we saw the entire stage. What would we do without it? Probably, for speedrunners' perspective, one of the least useful upgrades in the entire series.
Agreed.
Doppler 1. Satch, if you want to go ahead on this one.
Doppler 1, this is actually one of my favorite stages. I love this stage. You see him making very quick work of it. There's nothing really fancy about it. It's all pretty straightforward. Up until we get to the mini-boss, which is here shortly. The mini-boss... Basically, what you want to try and do with the mini-boss is kill the mini-boss as fast as possible while also getting to the right side of the stage. The farther left you are on the window, the longer it's going to take for you to walk up to 0 after you defeat the boss. And we're talking seconds long. It's, again, ridiculously long, but Geo doing an amazing job.
Pressed all the way up against the right side of the screen there, mitigating that walk as much as possible. And now we're going to be using a charged Frost Shield here. The one perk of the Frost Shield as a weapon is that any enemy it kills, provided it's in the enemy's drop table, will drop health when defeated with Frost Shield. And so we're just going to use that to refill on health, because you must be at 100% HP when you reach the Golden Armor capsule to get it to spawn, similar to the Hadoken and Shoryuken capsules in X1 and X2.
Now we have all the armor.
Now that we have the Golden Armor, we have all the enhancement chips, so that's going to give us access to double air dashes. That's going to give us increased damage mitigation. That is
the impossible jump. Sorry.
Yeah, we got the impossible dash there as well. And health regeneration while standing still, but most importantly, the Hyper C chip, which gives us instantaneous buster charges. We're going to be seeing a ton of that used in the last 3 stages of the game. And so Bit and Bite now combining into God Karmachine O Inari. I don't know where they got the name from, but pretty epic sounding. And his weakness being Ray Splasher. They did think of the idea that someone would get behind him, so it is an attack meant to deal with enemies behind him, but not effective enough to deal with the Ray Splasher here.
That boss also, he did really quick work of it, but that boss hits ridiculously hard. He has so much damage mitigation, and he's still at half health. In any percent, you can't even get touched by that guy. It's an instant kill.
Yeah, and even in Hundo, less experienced runners can die to that boss as well, just based on that damage output alone. But now into Doppler 2. So just another note to be used here. This is going to be the first instance where we're intentionally using Zero. And the reason why is because when we defeat Mosquitos with Zero, that is how we gain access to the Saber, which is, again, a requirement of the 100% category. But an interesting, again, error in programming, callback to the Tunnel Rhino stage. Data left in the static RAM for Mosquitos will override the explosion sequence for Volt Kuragil, the final boss of Doppler 2. But to ensure that that data is carried over all the way to Volt Kuragil, we need to ensure that the first enemy slot in the game's RAM is not occupied by the snails that we'll see during the elevator climb toward the end of the stage. So it's incredibly important that this elevator skip that you're about to see, one of the most difficult execution-heavy strats in all of the Super Nintendo X trilogy, is executed to perfection. That way, that data can be held and the explosion skip is triggered.
Oh, he messed up the climb the first time.
Yeah, it looks like we're coming back down.
Don't know if that messed up explosion skip yet or not. I don't think it did.
I believe he still has it. It's always so difficult to tell in the moment.
Alright, there we go. So he may not get the explosion skip, we'll see. I think he's okay though.
It's just very difficult to tell in a live environment like that, but just another requirement of explosion skip. Volt Kuragil dies with Beam Saber. And he did get it.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
You know, a backup and a half for the elevator skip, but to still maintain explosion skip through all of that chaos is, you know, one part luck, one part skill.
All right, now we're into the refights. This is where we're going to see quite literally an abuse of the Hyper C chip. There's a glitch that you can use that if you, I believe it's if you shoot and wall kick at the same time, you can release your shots and not consume Hyper C energy.
Yeah, so specifically on the second shot, you'll see that used on.
Yeah. So you're going to see an abuse of that, and then you have to recharge that every time you enter the stage. So you're going to see him taking a bunch of intentional bonks to also recharge that because you have to take damage in order to recharge the Hyper C glitch or the Hyper C chip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, normally when you come to the refights in most of the X series, you're powered up, and this is your moment to really show off what X is capable of. The Beam Saber and the use of Hyper C together is really an incredible way to show the player, just how far they've come from the beginning of the game. But you will notice that we avoid the use of Saber on 2 of the Mavericks in the refights, Seahorse and Crawfish, because their quick kills that we noticed in the Maverick stages themselves are actually faster to do than using the Saber. So we're going to just see another Crawfish quick kill here, executed identical the first time around. The HP just melts away.
That was actually when I saw that quick kill, that was the first quick kill that made me want to start messing with X3 when I was first starting running.
Yeah, it looks like it's more complicated than it actually is. Once you get it down, if you've played the Mega Man X games in any capacity, I think most people, even casual players of the game, could do that quick kill in probably a minute of attempts tops.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. But it still looks really cool every time you do it.
Yeah. And then, as far as the Hyper C conservation goes, so like Saj said, wall kicking while releasing the second shot saves 2 of our Hyper C energy. And then swapping off of the Saber while it is being used, again, saves 2 more energy. So normally the sequence here is that we get a charge shot, then a Saber, and it consumes 6 total energy. But the combination of those 2 glitches allows us to only use 2 energy per Saber instead of 6. And it massively speeds up the refight process here.
Oh man, he was loose.
Yeah, bad RNG on Beetle. When he engages that desperation attack there is not much you can do but wait. And just another quick note here about Hyper C. The reason why we need to take bonks is not just so we can continue to fill it and use it, but you also cannot use Hyper C at all unless you swap to it while it is full. If you swap to Hyper C while the meter is not full, you cannot use Hyper C. So incredibly important that those bonks are interspersed throughout the refights here. To ensure that we can keep switching back to it optimally.
Something else to note too is the Hyper C energy is not refilled between stages. So as he's using it, he will be refilling it so that he can use it in the next stage as well.
Yes, that's very true. We'll see him use it here in the final fight of the refights here. But he will, again, like you said, have to refill it once he reaches the Sigma 4 stage, the Doppler 4 stage.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, I just realized too, this is actually a refight section that was created by Giaco to actually optimize. I didn't even realize that he was doing this, but it was the old way used to just be to, I believe, go upper left to bottom right, kind of like you were reading a book. And he actually redid the fights so that they were more optimized. Basically, you had less Hyper C charging than you did initially. I don't remember exactly where it was. It's been a while since I've seen his explanation on it, but it saves, I want to say, like 1 or 2 seconds over the normal refights.
Yeah, the very beginner level way of doing those refights usually is Hornet and then Tiger, and then you can use Seahorse and Crawfish to kind of refill the Hyper C as much as you need to. But Geo, obviously, high level runner, showing us the big boy strats.
Yeah, this would be Dr. Doppler. He's kind of a cheeky guy. You'll see him put up a green shield, and if you hit him during the green shield, he will just regenerate all damage that you deal at that point.
Yeah, except for the final hit, you can hit him in the green shield. The idea here is that the damage is applied, and then if he is still alive, he will heal that damage back.
Also, if you can notice, too, he dashed into him at the very end to bonk to regain his Hyper C charge.
Yes. Yeah, so at the beginning of Doppler 4 here, the final stage of the game, we are going to see him take the last bonk that he needs to refill on Hyper C. And in the final fight... Oh, actually, he must have filled up on it.
Yeah, he filled up.
I must have missed that. Yep.
Dr. Doppler fight.
Gotcha. But in the final fight here, we've got two versions of Surprise Surprise Sigma. We have Captain America and Kaiser Sigma. Captain America, pretty easy to deal with here, just some good timing on the use of Saber and Hyper C, takes him out pretty quick. The final fight, Kaiser Sigma, we're going to be looking for optimally a quad Neon. Incredibly difficult strat, remembering that Neons are frame perfect tricks. We're going to hope to see 4 of them in this fight alone.
In a matter of, like, 3 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds. Also, his hitbox is deceptively massive.
So we got 3.
I got 3 of them.
3 out of 4. But still, like, that's... The execution required there is absolutely insane. But that is Mega Man X3 100%. The last thing to do here is just to make it to the top. Timing ends for this category and for this game when you reach the top of the climb after defeating Sigma and lose control of X. All we gotta do now is survive, of course. What else would be in a laboratory but lava?
Also, Geo being a nice guy and showing off with some extra...
Yeah, gotta toss as many neons in as possible. It's kind of a staple. And time. So that was, I believe, a 44:58 in marathon. Again, guys, 44 is like the top level. It's the minute barrier that everybody tries to break. There are only 7 people that have ever achieved a 44. And we just saw one here in Marathon, which is insane.
Yeah, he threw away that time, but that's huge. That's huge.
I accidentally split twice. That was 44:58.
Yeah, fantastic
Goodness
run.
gracious.
Good run, buddy. Good run.
Yeah, one heck of a run indeed, especially with the 50-minute estimate. Again, these Mega Man speedrunners today just crushing their estimates left and right.
Sorry, not sorry.
I mean, that run can go drastically wrong really quick, too, so...
Yeah, like if you die in refights, it's like, what, 5-minute time loss or something?
Yeah, depending on where you die.
If you game over, but...
Yeah, what an incredible run, though, dude. Really, really well executed. The entire run. I mean, you know, a little bit of bad RNG in the refights there, but the rest of the game was just phenomenally executed.
Also, great job to both O-Trials and Satchmo on comms for this one, you folks. The 3 of you really, really know your Mega Man. Especially your Mega Man X3. Like, that knowledge was coming through the whole time. Just, your whole love of this game was quite apparent, and we really appreciate you bringing that to the table here. Now, up next, we have got Papat.1 doing Wizards and Warriors 3. Kuros, Legends of Power, 80% run. So that marks the end of the Mega Man block for now. I know there's a few more Mega Men up ahead later on today, but Wizards and Warriors is still a really cool game. So you'll want to stick around for that.
Yeah, I appreciate O-Trials and Satch, obviously. It sounded like a mistake. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
I mean, thanks for having us.
Yeah.